Hey folks, welcome into the Cam Rogers Show. I am not Cam Rogers. I'm Harris Rubenstein taking over for Cam while he is on a quick vacation. We're presented to you today by BetDSI, the #1 online sportsbook. Get started today at chatsports.com/bet. We have a special promo for you guys. DM me at Sportstein if you want free money to gamble with this fall at Sportstein. Use that promo code CAM120 for a 120% deposit bonus, the best deal that you will find anywhere if you want to gamble on all sports coming up this fall. We got a fun show for you guys today, going over the top NFL news and rumors. We'll be going over my division winners presented by BetDSI with their odds for every single team. And then later in the show, we have our top 5 Heisman finalists with those odds also given to us by BetDSI. But before we get into that, we have a little bit of breaking news about the Ohio State scandal that we've seen kind of maneuver through over the past couple of months. So we got a report last night from Brett McMurphy that Texas coach Tom Herman was the Ohio State assistant who was with Zach Smith at a strip club back in 2014 on a recruiting trip to Miami. So this was confirmed by an Ohio State spokesperson. And apparently Zach Smith had spent up to $600 at this Miami strip club. Now, there's nothing wrong with going to a strip club, and I think especially now that Tom Herman has been named in this, I want to make this clear. I don't think there's anything wrong with Tom Herman going to a strip club back in 2014, though for Zach Smith, it's just troubling because we know at this time he was still married to his wife, and we know that he was still dealing with a lot of these domestic violence issues that he's still going on with. So him going and spending $600 at a strip club on a recruiting trip to Miami just simply isn't a good look. It just isn't. It's not a good look for Zach Smith. I don't think this has really too much to do with Tom Herman. He was named in this. This is now the second time that he's been brought up in a discussion or in the discussion of the Ohio State scandal. However, he's never really been implicated for doing anything wrong. However, this situation with Zach Smith continues to get more and more about his character, and I think not like kind of less and less about what Urban Meyer did or didn't do. What's become very clear about all this is that Zach Smith simply wasn't a very good guy, and that Urban Meyer has known about this since his time back in Florida back in 2009. He knew about it during his time at Ohio State and has continued to know about it until they finally fired him this past offseason. So as we continue to get further and further into this issue, I think it kind of needs to be pointed out that whether or not you think Urban Meyer did or didn't do anything wrong, I do. I just think he's handled the situation very poorly. This has come down to the fact that Zach Smith does not have the greatest character. And I understand that a lot of people, in terms of our high horses, and I'm going to see where I'm allowed to give my opinion. It can be unfair at times to criticize people's character. But the more and more we hear about Zach Smith, and the more and more we hear about how he's involved with the situation, just the worse he looks, and the worse of kind of a person that he looks to have employed on a Ohio State football team, especially on a football team that has so much attention on it, and it always has such a microscope and a magnifying glass on this program. So along with this strip club report that we got from Brett McMurphy, who, by the way, I want to say this, the dude has done a lot of great reporting on this. If you think he's out to get Ohio State, he's not. This is called, I have a story, I'm following through with my story, and I'm going to get all of the details on my story. This is called good journalism, people. This isn't a witch hunt on Ohio State. This isn't a witch hunt for Urban Meyer. This is, I have a story, I'm going to continue reporting this story until it comes to fruition. I went to journalism school. This is how they teach you to be a journalist. Props to you, Brett McMurphy, for not giving up on all these Ohio State people who keep criticizing you. This is called good journalism. Fully sourced. People keep getting on journalists nowadays for using anonymous sources. We don't have anonymous sources on this story. These are all fully sourced stories. So another piece of information that we got yesterday given to us by Kyle Rowland, who is a reporter with the Toledo Blade. He has some text released from Urban Meyer and his agent. We'll bring those texts for you up on screen. So some of the more important texts that we saw here, if you want to look towards kind of the middle of your screen, you will see that there is a text where they talk about how Urban Meyer had fired Zach Smith specifically because, quote, he was fired for the cumulative stuff. If you look a little towards the bottom of your screen, you will see he was fired for cumulative stuff, and then later went on to say, I will not tell the media. His agent actually agreed with him and said that that was a good choice and that he doesn't need to talk to the media about this. So I wonder if this is specifically from what we know at Big Ten Media Day, where Urban Meyer just outright lied. Now, I think one of the worst excuses, maybe in the history of the world, that I have ever heard was that Urban Meyer has memory loss issues and that he simply forgot about some of the text messages and that he forgot about other things. This is a dude who, during an interview, was able to fully recall 2 consecutive years of championship game plays that he called and plays that were called against Alabama. Like, that makes absolutely no sense that someone could forget that, especially with the incredible football mind that Urban Meyer has. You will never be able to convince me that he has selective memory towards specific things and only remembers football things. That's not real. That's not how the brain works. That's simply not how memory works. So with these new texts that were released, I don't think they're very scathing against Urban Meyer. But what this tells me and what this confirms, for my initial opinions about the situation, is that Urban Meyer knew what was going on the whole time. He was in complete control of his actions. He knew the situation, and he continued to cover up for the situation throughout his entire time at Ohio State. He knew about the incident in 2009. He knew about that when he hired him back at Ohio State. And he knew about the situation in 2014, and he let it just sit there and hope that people would forget about it and ignore it. Now he's been caught red-handed, and now he's claiming that he has memory loss issues. It doesn't make a lot of sense. How does that even work? Like, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I think these text messages confirm that Urban Meyer knew what was going on and knew exactly what his plan was going to be as this situation unfolded. Let me know in the comments section below, did Ohio State make the right call in suspending Urban Meyer? I say yes. I almost think it wasn't enough. I mean, you look at the games that he's suspended for, they're cupcake games. Like, the only really difficult game is a game versus TCU, which I think Ohio State is going to win with or without Urban Meyer. They're also playing Rutgers. They're still going to beat Rutgers by 60 points without Urban Meyer. I think they made the right call. I still think it was a pretty light suspension for a coach who, we've seen coaches get fired for less than this. And I think it's interesting to see where Ohio State's priorities are in terms of getting this situation right and how they want to handle these situations going forward. They had an opportunity here to really make a statement for college football and in college sports in general, and I simply think they fell short. I don't think that Urban Meyer is a terrible dude. I don't think that Urban Meyer runs a bad program, but when you get caught up in a situation like this, usually it doesn't end up working out for the head coach. Again, we've seen head coaches get fired for a lot less, regardless of how many games they can or will win in the future. So again, let me know in the comment section. Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no.